Welcome back. The woman in our next story was living in America when she began to fear for her life due to religious persecution. You may remember the story of Rifqa Bary. In 2009, she was a teenager who ran away from home to escape her Muslim father and fought several court battles to remain free. Wendy Griffith talked to her about her story, told in a new book.
When Rifqa Bary was 16, her Muslim parents found out she had renounced Islam and become a Christian. That's when Rifqa ran away from home and took refuge with Christians in Florida she had met on Facebook. Rifqa had heard stories of so-called honor killings for those who renounce Islam, and she feared that if she returned home, her father would try to kill her.
This is not just some threat. This is reality. This is truth.
Today, the 22-year-old college student tells her remarkable story in a new book, Hiding in the Light: Why I Risked Everything to Leave Islam and Follow Jesus. And Rifqa Bary joins us now. And Rifqa, this is such an honor to finally get to meet you in person.
It's great to be here.
But let's talk a little bit about your childhood. You were raised in a very strict Muslim household, and you were a devout Muslim from a very young age.
That's right. At the tender age of 3, the imam would come over to my house and spend hours teaching me the Quran. I fasted, the full 30 days of Ramadan, starting at age 6 with no water. I prayed 5 times a day. For hours I would memorize the Quran, and I was committed to my faith.
Well, there were 2 things that happened in your childhood that really changed everything and changed the way your family treated you, especially what was your father. What were those 2 things?
That's right. So the first one was that my eye became blinded by an accident with my brother. We were playing with a toy airplane, and he accidentally threw it in my way. And then the other was...
How old were you when that happened?
I was 6.
Just 6?
Yes. And the same year, I was sexually violated by an extended family member.
And then what happened?
So we moved in order to retain that honor.
To the United States?
That's right. And my family uses the eye treatment as one of the factors of us moving, but really underneath it was about...
retaining honor. Wow.
Yes.
How did you come to faith in Jesus?
As I got older, I saw the emptiness of Islam. I saw that it took and it took and it took, but it never gave. There was a girl that had the courage and the bravery to step beyond the social boundaries of middle school, and she asked me to come to church with her.
Wow.
And what she didn't realize was that months prior to her asking me to come, I got on my knees after beating, and I did the despicable. I was at the end of myself. I was considering suicide. I was just done.
You said after beating, so even though you were a devout Muslim and doing everything you could to please your family, your father was beating you.
Yes, he was. Yeah. And it's the culture. It's not seen as something odd. And so I got on my knees and I said, God, if you are real, show me who you are. If you're Allah, if you're Buddha, if you're Jesus, I just want to know truth, and I'll give my life to it. And after that prayer, Angela came months later, and my life transformed through that experience at church.
Your father at that point gave you an ultimatum.
He said that if you do not turn back, there are the consequence was death.
You were preparing to die at that. I mean, you were what, 16?
16.
And so you didn't really have a way of escape at that moment, but then God provided a way of escape.
He did, through a set of miraculous and crazy events. This lady at 2 a.m. in the morning while this is happening, I'm ready to die. Like, I'm ready to just face it. She messages me, and I feel this powerful feeling of I need to reach out to her. Wow. And so I call her, and that's what I ask her is, I tell her for a second my story, and I say, will you pray that in the face of death that I do not deny Jesus?
You're now 22, you're a college student, we can't say where. Do you still fear for your life?
I've come to the conclusion that my life is not my own. And when it's time, but at the same time, I do take precautions to be wise.
So there's still that whole issue of, you shamed the family now in the ultimate way.
I have, by writing about it. Ultimately, my message is one of hope. Like, my message through my story is to show other people that there is restoration and healing, and absolutely there's a safety element, but I just so hope that people are inspired to love God with everything they have.
Rifqa, it is such a pleasure, and we're so glad to see you so joyful and so
beautiful, and thank you for your book. It's truly an amazing story. The book is called Hiding in the Light, and it's available online or wherever books are sold. Rifqa, God bless you.
Bless you. Thank you, Wendy.